Batwoman #8, Margaret Bennett writing and Fernando Blanco on art. So this is the second part of the current arc, which is the Scarecrow storyline. Scarecrow, and we find out in this issue, he is experimenting with all. You see the plague and like bird flu and anthrax, and like, he's
Who knew? Who knew he was a such gifted chemist? I knew he was like the fear gas was one thing,
Yeah.
you know.
Honestly,
But
I have two favorite things in this issue. One, that he has like a gas grenade that's made out of a human skull.
that's pretty metal.
That's fantastic. And also, so the first half of the issue is like Batwoman's in like a nightmare dream kind of thing. And there's some good stuff where like our family, you see like Colonel Kane and you see her sister, and it's like the evil like modern versions of them are like taking them away, and that was a nice image. But I loved it. It was like a giant monster bat, and she actually does this thing where she jumps with a spear and spears the bat through the head. That page is fantastic.
Not just that. We continue the story of the foxes and about how that disease is gonna. You have to, kill the sick one so it doesn't spread to the healthy ones.
Yeah, and Safia in the dream is like shooting everything.
Yeah, and so, but you get the vibe that Kate, that the foxes represent Kate and what she did to the island. What was the name of that island?
I was trying to swallow
Coriana.
Coriana, yes.
I kept wanting to say Corto Maltese, and that's a completely different DC setting. But yeah, Coriana. And you feel like that, she brought a sickness, and that sickness was kind of, the heroes to the smuggler island. You know what I mean? Just sense of who she is. But you see this gigantic bat monster, and it has the head of a fox, more so than a bat. And just the way that the art told the story, even more so than the dialogue.
So, it's funny, the art is quite good in this issue and the last issue, and it's funny because I think it's the weakest start the book's had, because it started with Epting, and then we had that one issue, who I can't remember who it was now, but it was fantastic.
Days of Future Bats, yeah.
No, not that one. The one before that, the love story one. That was on the ship, and they were like holding each other in their arms and all that. It was very, very artistic and beautiful. But no, it's still very good though, and it's still telling its story very well. It's a more simple sort of color palette, but it's working. Yep. But she wakes up from her nightmare, and she's saying, like, because she ends her dream saying "Dad, Dad," and then it's like, no, not Dad. We find out there's a prisoner in the cell next to her. It's Colony Prime, so it's taken from Detective Comics. We're pulling more stuff in from there. And they basically decide they're going to have to work together to get out of here because they've been held captive by Scarecrow, and all of his men that he came with have all, that's who she was fighting in the last issue in the desert. They've all been mutated and horrible things have happened to them. So she eventually gets out. Like, Scarecrow tries to gas the room, and she gets out because there's like, she's got like an upgrade in her suit, tuxedo as we're calling young lady Pennyworth, as upgrade her suit, and she bolts her way out of the room. Which is when this skull grenade gets to them, and we end in this like new nightmare world where we see Scarecrow like towering over them. It's almost like if you played the Batman Arkham games, the way the Scarecrow sections of them actually feel, it's kind of like that.
That's what I wanted to ask you, because I've never played those games.
Yeah. But
I know the look. Scarecrow's look in that game is very iconic, and this seemed to me like that's his design.
Very similar, because in those games, like you get infected with a toxin at one point, and then you're in this like nightmare world where Scarecrow's like 100 foot tall, and you're sneaking around trying to avoid him, and it kind of feels like that at the end of this. What's interesting though is that both Batwoman and Colony Prime see different things. He says he sees like giant like video game robots, and she's like, oh, I see like slime monsters or whatever she says, but it's like they both see different things. And they have to fight their own demons. So I think I'm expecting some fun out of this next issue.
Yeah, I liked what he had said. It was, he would play this game with his son when he was back home, and so the fact like this thing that he enjoyed so much is being turned against him, and for her it's almost like a Wonderland motif, keeping up with that dream that she had. And so again, it's her family, and that's.
I think what they're seeing and what it means to them will be explored a bit more next issue as they're fighting their way through. We'll probably get some narration and flashbacks to what each thing represents, or what stuff like that. Like, I can see that being a thing. But no, I'm enjoying this mad scientist Scarecrow thing, because he's talking to, I think, Fatima is the one who, because he's doing this for the Many Arms of Death, the organisation that Batwoman's been involved in since the start of the books, the one that's behind this. And he talks about how those twins, I don't want them coming betraying me, because he tells this story of I can't remember the names off the top of my head, but of this king who got the scientist to make a like a you know a
a perfect execution.
yeah, execution device.
And
But the
it's
king turned
the
around and
brazen
said,
bowl.
"Oh, you'll be the first one to test it out." So he doesn't want to be that, and he's like,
Nope.
"No, I'm making sure I've got insurances." But no, I love the idea of like Crane actually being like a mad like horror movie scientist in a lab somewhere
Yeah.
and concocting all these awful things. Uh,
Yeah.
but no,
And I like
it's good.
that Colony Prime was doing what they set up in Detective, where they're chasing down these threats, and they had heard about the needle, so they'd come looking for the needle as well. But he mentions that Kate had taken out a lot of them that they'd went after, but this was the last one. So I like that they haven't, they deviated from trying to take over Gotham, but they're still, executing what Kane basically wanted, and that was
Yeah.
kind of the mission of Batman. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah. Once again, Batwoman, I think,
Pretty
is a
good.
consistently enjoyable book. It's doing its own thing. It's giving Kate something unique for her to do, and it's having some fun with Scarecrow, classic villain. And like I
Yeah.
say, the dream stuff's very inventive. I'm looking forward to the next issue in this nightmare world now.
Me
Now
too.
that they've been dosed with some new toxin that he's just cooked up in his lab.
Mm-hmm.
It's fascinating. But no, and as we said, the art is pretty good, even if it does kind of pale compared to what Epting was doing in the first arc. But maybe that's just a taste thing more than anything else.